Absolutely. I mean, the GM said we were on a slow march towards death. Like, that's how he described the team. Right? Because the Cavs were going to be in the position, if they didn't trade Isaiah Thomas, that the key player acquisition they got from the Kyrie Irving trade, come the playoffs, was going to be unplayable. Like, we had discussed in Jenna, you had been advocating, well, put him to the bench, like let him come off the bench, have Kevin Love be your second option. But they couldn't, Isaiah with his personality and demeanor, it's either have him be your starting point guard or just send him home. Yeah. Like, he would have been a huge problem as a guy, as a role player. They should have panicked. They were playing horrific basketball after Isaiah Thomas came back, and they were playing excellent basketball before Isaiah Thomas came back.
That wasn't the only reason to panic. Number one, it was going so badly. We saw LeBron sulking that you were in major danger of losing him. Now, you may lose him anyway, but it was getting to the point where it was a no doubt that he was leaving. So that's number one. Then Isaiah Thomas is going to be a free agent. It was looking like, you know what? We're not going to re-sign this guy and bring him back. So you would have lost him for nothing. Yeah, so now you get something for him. Isaiah's absolutely right. I had no problem with what he said. And I guess once you get your powers back, you can say things like this.
Do you think he has his powers back?
He said he's got his powers back.
Of course he did.
He needs to show it. I mean, I'd like to see it.
Did the Cavs have an IT problem? Did they have a Ty Lue not getting players to work problem? Did they have we had the wrong players problem? Like, he calls it panic mode, but what was the problem now that we can all look back on it?
I mean, I think I know what the problem was. I think LeBron knew when they acquired Isaiah Thomas, this guy defensively is nearly unplayable against Golden State, or Houston for that matter, but you're focused on Golden State. The only way that he is playable as a plus, as a positive against those guys, is if he is 90%, 95% of who he was offensively last year. When he was 20% of who he was offensively last year, I think LeBron knew this team is drawing dead to win a championship. Yeah, I think LeBron still believed they could make the finals. I believed they could make the finals. I think you did as well. But to win a championship, they were drawing dead. And what that did was, as Chris mentioned, LeBron won Player of the Month in November, Player of the Month in December. He's about to win Player of the Month in February. And in January, he was bad. Like, I mean, he wasn't.
By his standards.
By his standards, really bad. Yeah. It was the worst month of basketball he's played in over a decade. He was mentally defeated, I felt like. And so that's what, I mean, that was the biggest issue. LeBron can raise the tides of role players, but not when he doesn't believe his team has a fighting chance.
And look, in fairness to Isaiah, it wasn't just him.
No.
I mean, they had major problems. Most of their guys were one-sided. You know, the guys that could shoot the three couldn't defend. The guys that could defend couldn't shoot the three or do anything offensively. You had Isaiah Thomas, Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, who at this stage of their career are very similar. They're all slashers. They're all used to being the number one option on their team. They can't catch and shoot for the most part. And so it just wasn't a good fit. And you had egos, guys thinking they deserve more minutes, including Isaiah. And so it wasn't just on him.
Jay Crowder was terrible.
Jay Crowder
and he was supposed to be a big part of that trade.
He was one of the major reasons I liked the trade at first.
Do either of you think they gave up on this guy too soon?
No. Look, I give Kobe Altman, the GM, credit for recognizing I made a mistake and not having too much pride to say, if I do it now, it'll look like I really screwed up when I made the trade. He went ahead and fixed it, and kudos to him.
And it made the locker room better. And that whole overhaul, it wasn't D. Wade had rubbed Kevin Love the wrong way. Jay Crowder and Isaiah Thomas rubbed everyone the wrong way. They had to do it when they did it. So IT was right. Now, since I'm rooting for IT, I just hope he plays better down the stretch. I'd like him to get some big money this offseason. I think that's tough.
He's got to get healthy.
I hope he gets more at the mid-level. Yeah. You could have stopped after the choices are James Harden. That's it.
That's it.
There's no MVP discussion as far as I'm concerned. It is James Harden, period, the end. LeBron, other than January, has been great. The team hasn't been great. That's part of the voting. You know, James Harden leading the league in scoring, second in assists. His I don't know if it's number one PER, but it's right up there in the top 2 or 3. I mean, this guy has been the bridesmaid second the last 2 years.
2 of the last 3.
2 of the last 3. I thought he actually should have won it in 2015 when Steph won his first one, and the players voted for Harden as well. Unless he falls off a cliff or they start losing. And Chris Paul, you can look at their record and say, well, he's got Chris Paul. Chris Paul's missed 18 games. Like, to me, this is the most obvious MVP. This is almost as obvious as when Steph was unanimous a couple years ago.
All right, so I'm glad you brought up Steph being unanimous a couple years ago. LeBron won his first MVP 9 years ago. This is the 10th season since then. 8 of the last 9 years, the league MVP should have been LeBron. Hold on a second. Wait a second. The 1 year it shouldn't have been was Steph's unanimous year. This year it shouldn't be either. James Harden's your MVP. James Harden it's not only what you said about points and assists, it's the team record. They are 31-3 when he and Chris Paul play. They're 29-1 when Chris Paul, and Clint Capella play. And it's not just he's finished second a couple times and we feel badly for him. He's been the best player in the league this year. And you're right, LeBron had an argument through Christmas Day. Through Christmas Day, the team.
Who'd you have through Christmas Day?
I had Harden. But Harden didn't. Remember, he got hurt.
Exactly.
And Harden got hurt, and I was like, okay, this could be LeBron's chance to overtake him because LeBron's going to play. It would appear maybe in all 82 games after being criticized for sitting out some games last year. LeBron still in the year is giving you 26, 8, and 8 on 55%. Giannis is giving you 28, 10, and 4 on 54%. None of them have been as good as Harden, and none of them have as many, not that this should be the determining factor, oh my God, what happened moments. Like, the whole league has 6 40-10 games, 40-point, 10-assist games. Harden has 3. The rest of the league has 3. The whole league has 2 50-10 games. Harden has both of them. Like, he's had enormous games. He's been consistent.
60-point triple-double, first time in NBA history.
One of the greatest stat lines we've ever seen. Like, this year, Harden's been the best player in the league. Like, he's been the most important player to his team. And so, for only the second time in a decade, I don't think the MVP should be LeBron.
I'll give you, look, if you just say who's the most valuable player of the NBA, it's LeBron because he's the business of the NBA, you know, all that. Right. And you take him off this Cavaliers team, and they absolutely fall off a cliff. Okay, so that's always the case. But it's not just given to the best player, in my view, as a voter, and Harden's clearly been the best.
And you're right, he is tops in PER. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.